So aromatase inhibitors, AI, are needed in a cycle for a guy, right or wrong? Stay tuned, watch the video. I want to give a shout out to all of my members, Marjorie, Miguel, and Maria, and 520s. And I also want to thank 520s, big high five, woo woo, because 520s tipped me $50 for the other day, so thank you so much on your super thanks. Hey guys, welcome to my channel, welcome to Miami Life and Fitness. For those of you that are new here, then welcome. A channel about fitness, anabolics, how to cycle, training, and nutrition, and putting that all together so that you can reach your goal. And if you are back here, then thank you and welcome back. I appreciate each and every one of you for your support. So in today's video is actually dedicated to a fan as well, who usually comments quite frequently on my channel. This is going out to AAS user 8334, and he wants to know, he says, I know that I like using AIs in big cycles, which is an aromatase inhibitor or an estrogen blocker, however you want to call it. It's the same thing at the end of the day, Arimidex, Letrol, Aromasin, and Anastrozole, whatever. He says now more and more people are started telling about running tests so high that no inhibitor is necessary. And then they stack a DHT or 19-nor on top of that. He says, where does this new approach come from? And then maybe if I could do a video on it. He says Paul Barnett, which is the guy that I did a video on female steroids and female athletes and what anabolics they take last summer, and Victor Black, who is a pretty new channel. I believe the guy's from Australia, has a pretty decent channel. And others are all against aromatase inhibitors. So this video is for you, AAS user 8334. So basically, let's break this down into pieces. Let's break it down about why I like using an AI in cycles, and we're gonna talk about why I feel it's necessary, if it even is, and then we're gonna talk about, like you said, where does all this come from? So let's start with where does it come from, because we're gonna start from step one, which is the history of where does it come from and why people are going back to this. So where does it come from? It comes from the 60s, 70s, 80s, and 90s, where people, men, bodybuilders, didn't know that this existed. It wasn't something that was used because they didn't know about it. So if you don't know about something, you're not going to use it. Back in those days, men didn't use it. They used Novadex, tamoxifen, tamoxifen, because that's all they had. They didn't know about Arimidex, Anastrozole, Aromasin, Letrol. So they only used what they had. And then they mainly did cycles with Primo, Taz, D-Ball, and Deca, which were basically your cycle about lean and then gaining mass and gaining big. So, you have, your Frank Zane, your Dorian Yates, which is my favorite, Ronnie Coleman, Arnold Schwarzenegger, Farino, Colombo, and even Sergio Lila. All of these people really did their cycles with what they had and with what they knew, and they did really high doses, and then they used Novadex because that's all they had, because that's all they knew. So what they would do is they would blast really high cycles, and then they would come down and cruise a little bit and lower the doses, and then blast more, and then take high doses, and they would lower their doses, and they would cruise and then lower the doses. And this is really what they did because this is really all they knew. And then when it came time to do a show and do a contest prep, then when you're getting ready and closer to a show, then you have to start doing a lot of cardio, excess cardio, strict dieting, so that you can get out all of that water retention that you really didn't control and really didn't address during your cycle, because the technology, the information and the science wasn't there. So that's the history, and this is actually where it comes from. Now we're gonna talk about why I feel it's necessary, or even isn't. All right, so then we move to the 80s and the 90s, and then you still had the great bodybuilders, Labrada, Lebroni, Flex Lewis, Lee Haney, Sean Ray, all these people, and they still weren't cycling right. But the thing is that a lot of these guys had really good genetics. So no matter what they did or what they took or what they ate, they just have gifted genetics. So they were able to put all this stuff together, take massive doses and all these things, and they just put it together, and then they got right for the stage, and they look good on the stage. But look, all those guys had great genetics. Look at the bodybuilders back then to the bodybuilders now. Just look at them. Just look at them. Look at the bodybuilders then and look at the bodybuilders now. Maybe this is why those people like Victor Black and Paul Barnett and all the others that you're mentioning, they're probably thinking that, well, we're just gonna go back to the olden days when if they didn't do it, then we don't need to do it either. Most of the guys today that are pros are really a pro, and they became a pro, and really some of the pros really look good, but some of them really don't. the people that are pros now really don't even look like pros. I mean, if you put all the bodybuilders open, 212, what have you, heavyweight, whatever, they don't look the same as the big guys back then, and they never will. Here's my thing. When you take high doses, okay, whether it's testosterone, testosterone, tren, deca, D-bol, anadrol, all of those androgenic compounds, very powerful compounds that will give you a lot of muscle very, very fast. But at the end of the day, they will aromatize because they increase testosterone so high. At the same time, your estrogen will increase, converts into DHT and estrogen. Your estrogen is gonna shoot up. And the reason why it does that is because when testosterone goes up, the estrogen tries to match the same level at the rate of the testosterone is increasing. When this happens is when a man will aromatize. What this means that you will get a lot of bloating and a lot of water retention. When the bloating and the water retention occurs is when somebody gets high blood pressure. Why? Because now all of your arteries and your veins are constricted because they're filled with water from all the bloating. What does this mean? That it's harder for the blood to get to the heart and recycle and get to the heart and to pump it there. So the body has to work harder. The heart has to work harder to pump the blood faster to get it up there into the heart, which is a muscle. This causes a lot of stress on the heart, thus increasing the blood pressure. Gyno, if it gets to that level, and this is when the guys get man boobs and they start lactating and all that great, fun, delicious stuff. So at the end of the day, you know, my thing is always number one, check your hormones, which is why in every video I always say, do your lab work and check your hormones. It is imperative that you check your hormones so you can see where your testosterone and where your estrogen is. Some guys I've seen personally in lab results, their estrogen is really, really high. I've seen guys' lab results where it's literally at 3,000. Estrogen, not testosterone. When the estrogen is 3,000, that means the testosterone is even higher than that. You're abusing the doses and you are abusing the anabolic steroids. And this is why, because of those people, because of you guys that abuse them, this is why steroids gets a bad rap. This is why they have a bad rap and they get a bad name. Is, oh, you shouldn't do it, it's gonna cause this and that. If people did it right and people did it responsibly and actually did a low dose of what they actually need, got your blood work so you can see your results and know exactly where you are, see what's working, see what's not. You know, if people did that, steroids wouldn't have that bad of a name. So, in my opinion, when this happens, when somebody starts to aromatize, is because they are not controlling the cycle. They have now put up cycle together incorrectly. They are not cycling properly because you are omitting the things that you need. You can't just have your front runners and all of your androgenic compounds that are gonna give you muscle. Sure, that's fun because you get big and guys like to feel big and ooh and get all in front of the mirror and think they look like King Kong. But at the end of the day, you also have to have your bodyguards. You have to have the guys in the back that are going to protect you during your cycle so that you don't aromatize, so that you don't get gyno and you don't have to stop a cycle and do a PCT because you messed up. So to me, a proper cycle and a complete cycle will include your front runners of obviously your test base, and then you're going to have a few orals, which is your Proviron and let's say a D-bol or a T-bol or Primo or Anavar, whatever you decide to take. And then you will take your oils, whether it's Tren, Ment, Deca, MPP, EQ, Mast, whatever it is, you know, Trustolone, whatever you decide to take, but you will need a combination of both in order to get it right with the correct doses. Now, those are your front runners. Now, in the back, the ones protecting you, you have to think of it as ADT for your house. You have a beautiful 8,000 square foot mansion, but who's protecting your mansion? Cops aren't going to stand around your house. You don't have the Mexican mafia around your house protecting your house with guns and rifles, right? You need an ADT system. You need closed circuit TVs. You need cameras. You need things that are going to protect you. This is where a Proviron comes in. This is where an AI, which is aromatase inhibitor, an estrogen blocker, come in. A Rimidex, Electro, Aromacin, which are your stronger ones. And you need HCG. Why is HCG so important? Most guys think they don't need it, but what happens when you don't use HCG in your cycle is that your signals are going to get crossed, your signals get stopped, and they're not getting sent from the hypothalamus to the pituitary to the luteinizing hormone to the follicle stimulating hormone to the testicles to actually produce the testosterone. Your libido will fall, you will not want to have any type of desire at all, and your signals get crossed, and that can cause a lot of issues in a man's body. Why men think that this is not necessary, I have no clue. Why do people think that they don't need an aromatase inhibitor, that it's okay to get big and bloated? Do they want to look poofy? Do they want to look like a Cuban pastry? Do they want to look like a French cheese puff? I don't understand why they feel that they don't want to do it. Is it because they're naive? Is it because they're just ignorant, they're listening to Pedro and Joe Blow in the back, or is it because they just don't want to spend the money? I mean, we have to do things responsibly. We have to take care of our health and do things responsibly. To me, I really don't care what anybody says, and yes, I am a female and I'm talking about this. You need an AI in your cycle. We have to put together a proper cycle. We need the guys that are gonna gain you muscle and gain you mass, but you also need the guys in the back that are gonna protect you, which are proviron and AI and HCG, to make sure your signals keep getting sent from the main glands. It's simple as that. If you don't want to spend the money, then don't be a cheap ass and don't do the cycle. Here's the thing, as technology progresses and research progresses and studies progress and information is now available to us and we become knowledgeable as the years go by, now that we have the information and we know that we can take certain AIs to assist so that we don't make these mistakes during a cycle, why are guys not wanting to do that? I mean, the whole point of advancing and having studies and research and to get better and progress in life in general is so that we can get better, so that we don't make mistakes. Same thing if you go to a surgery, the surgeons, every year they go through new studies and there's new technologies of how they can perform a surgery better, less invasive, less painful. But the way to do a proper cycle is to have a complete cycle together. And this is what I assist with in putting cycles for men and women together, whether you're competing or whether you just want to get fit and start your fitness journey. If you need help with starting a cycle, putting a cycle together, what you should take, your doses, email me at miamilifeandfitness@gmail.com or book your consultation at www.miamilifeandfitness.com, and we will get together and talk about a proper cycle so you can put it together properly so that you don't mess up, because you can permanently shut down your free testosterone and permanently shut down your libido. Because if you don't have free testosterone, my oven keeps beeping, because once you shut down your free testosterone, you're done. You won't have any libido, you won't have any desire for nothing, so you won't be having sex anymore. So this is what happens when guys get into these issues. When they don't want to have sex, this is what happened. You've shut down your free testosterone and you've shut down your libido. You get to testicular atrophy. This is what happens. So you don't want to mess up, guys. If you like the video, like, share, subscribe. For those of you that found this valuable, gain some information out of it, please leave your super thanks. I really appreciate it. Everyone, have a great week, and comment on the video. Tell me what you think. Do you use an AI? Do you want to use an AI? Have you? Do you think it's necessary? Talk to me. Let's comment. Let's go back and forth about why you feel it is or isn't necessary, and why all these people are being so naive and ignorant is more the word, that they don't need to use an AI. But why?